Happy Ramadan edition of 2024 Kind Soup's Super Sunday. We have Salma and Alexa sharing with us one of Alexa's family's absolutely most traditional Ramadan soups. It's a Moroccan soup called Harira. And Salma and Alexa and whoever else will join us, welcome to talk and share, and for the rest of us to learn from Ramadan tradition. So we're really excited to be together today and looking forward to the hour. Thank you, Alexa. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. And thank you for joining on a Sunday afternoon. I know that some of us meet more regularly on Monday afternoons, but I was really, really happy when Selma and Deb asked me to do this soup. This soup, as I said last Monday, this soup, this taste, this smell in my house means it's Ramadan for me in terms of the sense of smell that I associate with this month. So I am super excited to be making it. This is a recipe that my non-Muslim mother sent me many years ago. I do not have the original recipe that I used from her, but for many, many years, I would just I'd throw in some cumin and some cinnamon and some turmeric and some black pepper. And then a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 now, we did this soup for KindSoups. And I said, well, I better find a recipe. So I looked at the different recipes that I could find online. And the one that I liked the most and adapted the least was Joan Nathan's from King Solomon's Table, her book from 2017. And Joan's I think it was her grandmother was a Sephardic Jewish woman from Morocco. And so I liked that sort of multi-cultural, multi-faith aspect of this soup. This is a traditional Moroccan soup. My husband is Egyptian, I am American, and it still means Ramadan to me. I love, as a Muslim, that I can tap into and enjoy cultural traditions from many parts of the world. And I find that the diversity of traditions, religious and, um, culture, like, food, I'm forgetting the word, but like just all of those, and the way we dress for our festivals at the end of the month of Ramadan, and how we host when we have iftars, which is gathering people together to break our fast in the evening. And so that has been wonderful for me to explore. And that is how a Moroccan soup became the staple for my family. Sama, will you talk a little bit about Ramadan traditions that you have?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you all on this Sunday of Ramadan and to share this soup together. I'm in New York in my daughter's kitchen, um, heading back to DC later this evening, and just happy to join you all. And thank you, Alexa, for leading us in Harira. Ramadan.
Sama, can I interrupt you for 1 second? I know that the ladies on here are soup aficionados, but just in terms of the posterity of this recording, we're going to want to start with our aromatics and cooking them in our olive oil. Thank you.
For me, a Ramadan tradition, I guess really it has to do with a blog that I started about 12 or so years ago. My kids were young, and I wanted them to understand the essence of this month, which is it's a month in which we fast from dawn until sunset, right? We don't eat, we don't drink. People are surprised that even water is not allowed, but it isn't. So, it ranges anywhere from 14 to 16 to 18 hours of no food or drink. And really, it's about appreciating everything that we have, being grateful for the fact that we can, at the end of the day, break our fast with plenty of delicious foods, and recognizing that there are so many people around the world and who don't have that luxury, or who don't have that benefit. So it's about gratitude. It's about experiencing what so many people suffer on a daily basis, and really appreciating what we have and doing what we can to help those who don't have what we have. And it's really a month of charity, of volunteerism, of service, of giving back to our communities, and expressing our thanks. And so one of the traditions in our family is something called 30 days, 30 something. And each year it's a different theme. And I started when our kids were young. I wanted them to understand, even if they weren't fasting every single day of the month of Ramadan, that it's about being your best self, about really trying to step up your game and be kinder, be gentler, be more giving, be more grateful. And so that first year, we decided we would do one good deed each day. So the first year's theme was 30 days, 30 deeds. And again, it was a way for the kids and for our family to realize that we don't have to change the whole world to make a difference. That's not the point. We can do something for our own families, for our neighbors, for our community members, for our grandparents. Just one small thing, and it counts and it's important. So each day that first year, we did one good deed. We started a blog. Sometimes the kids would write, sometimes I would, and just kind of put it out there. It wasn't meant to be a project that went viral. It was just for our family, our extended family, our neighbors, and community members. So that is one tradition that we have continued for many, many years. And each year we take a different theme that shared the essence of the month. So the next year it was 30 days, 30 gratitudes, then 30 days, 30 traditions, 30 days, 30 wisdoms from our elders, respecting the wisdoms that we've learned from our parents, our mentors, our elders. So it continued. So yeah, that very much is a family tradition.
That's wonderful. Do you have a theme for this year?
This year is a unusual year for me and for our family. It's probably, I've been thinking about it. I'll just share, since there's just a few of us on the call. I'm going through a major health situation. So I just had surgery and am going into 5 weeks of intensive treatment. So I'm actually not fasting because I can't. I need to really recover and sustain myself for what is ahead. So this year I didn't. I was hoping to do something this year until this situation happened, and it landed right during Ramadan. But I'll say that something is developing as this month is continuing, and as my situation is sort of progressing. As some of you know, I share a newsletter every so often, usually twice a month or so, and it's called Humankind, and it's about our human connection and personal stories. And I shared in the last newsletter what I was facing, and asked people, what is something that you do to get through challenging times, difficult times, whether it's a health situation or anything else that you may be facing. And I wasn't actually expecting people to write back in the way that they are, but I've been so blown away at within 24 hours. And now, a few days later, just people are continuing to share such heartfelt and useful guidance for getting through difficult times. I mean, somebody shared their list of movies, just fun, funny, silly, not serious, not heavy, not depressing movies that she turns on. And that's so helpful, to have this list of a dozen or so movies. And somebody else actually, who I don't know very well at all, but again, I've just been so moved by people's willingness to share. so openly. And she said, you know, she went through a very difficult time with her daughter when she was very young, a health situation that really scared her. And she said she would write letters to herself. So beyond sort of journaling, actually sitting down and writing a letter to yourself, kind of, I think, a pep talk, unburdening what you're feeling, and perhaps, you know, giving yourself some grace and the opportunity to release. And also perhaps, you know, she would include ways to keep going and what would make her strong. So I'm going to try that, writing a letter to myself. Somebody shared music that relaxes them and cheers them up. And of course, faith and different spiritual practices and traditions have been part of what I've received, different verses from holy text. In fact, just now, right before the call, a very dear faith-filled Christian friend of mine shared a prayer that is written in her mother's handwriting. Her mother was a spiritual teacher, and she has it framed on her desk. Her mom has since has passed away, but it's written in her mother's handwriting. And so she sent me a picture of that, and it's just so beautiful. I'm so touched. And so, you know, I think for myself at least, this is going to be 30 days, comma, of healing. So not 30 days, 30 something, but 30 days of healing. It certainly feels that way for me. And with people's permission, perhaps I'll share some of these ideas anonymously, if, you know, for others to benefit from. So yeah, I think that's the theme. I had no idea that there would be a theme, or that I would be, you know, receiving something that I could really hold on to and perhaps share with others. So yeah. I think you're muted, Alexa.
Thank you. That is 30 days and of healing, that, you know, and may that healing continue. I am not surprised at the outpouring of love that you received. How wonderful that you are getting wisdom to uplift you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It looks like we have Jamila and Han, and welcome, and salam alaikum. And we are so glad that you are joining us for our Moroccan Harira soup. So I hope that you can hear me fine. Hello?
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Hi, you're welcome. How are you, ma'am?
We are all well. We are all well.
Is that Shogapa? Is that you?
Yes, but I cannot on my video. I don't know what's the problem. Allow
Okay.
Zoom to.
Well, we're happy to have you join us today.
Sorry, today I have some problem to joining.
What, are you cooking with us, or were you able to hear Alexa?
No, sorry, no. Now I cooking eggplants with French fries. Yeah.
That sounds good too. Were you? I didn't notice when you joined. Were you able to hear Alexa and Salma share about their Ramadan traditions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Will you share with us some of yours?
Okay. We have 30 days of Ramadan, and all dinner. Yeah, and dinner time is like 7:14 or 7:13, 7:17. Every day is change at the time. It's 1 minute. And we cook some foods like three or two types of food, and also we make a vegetable salad, and also drink yogurt, and Afghan tea,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Afghan bread, naan, yeah, and everything we cook at home. Yeah. And for Sahari, it's midnight. It's midnight or 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. We wake up for Sahari, and we cook some other foods or and this foods we can use, and we take vegetable and also fruit to we all of day we didn't eating food, and also we cannot drink. And for in the night time we pray 20 rakats tarawih namaz, and we pray and we go to masjid and with my family, and after that we come back here, and also we and my, me and my husband um, as for the second time we drank tea for the refreshing. Yeah, we drank the tea, also 1 cup of coffee, and 1 cup of juice, banana juice. Yeah.
Oh, at night? That's how you
Yeah.
finish up at night?
Yeah. It's 11:30 p.m. or 11. Yeah, that time.
Wow. Tea,
Yeah.
coffee, and banana juice.
Yum.
Sometimes we use tea. Sometimes we use it's a different time. I asked my husband, what do you like for the drinking, tea or juice? He said tea. I make tea. If he said juice, I like juice. I make for him juice. Yeah.
And so yeah, what's so nice is to have that break. So when the sun sets, we break our fast. Many of us break fast with dates, and then have things like the yogurt, the salad, the bread.
Correct. Yeah,
After
exactly.
bread is so
Sorry,
good, so
I
good.
missed I missed a lot of things. I'm very
Yeah, no, it's so good. And then often we will go and do just sort of the sunset prayer, and then come back
yeah,
and have more, have rice, have meat.
yeah.
But then many families will go to the mosque. And as she
Mhm.
said, there are special prayers in Ramadan. And so when it's, the month is really about community, and it's also not just about fasting, not eating and drinking during the day. It's really about connecting to the Quran, our holy
Yeah.
scripture. So in those 20 rakah, a rakah is a unit of prayer. It's when you stand and you recite, and then you bow down, and then you stand up, and then you go down and you press your head twice on the ground. That is 1 unit of prayer. So after the night prayer, the Isha prayer, there will be somebody who is up at the front of the mosque, a reciter, and they will go through and they'll do 1/30th of the Quran each night, so that in the whole month of Ramadan, the entire Quran is recited. Because typically in the short, 2 or 3 or 4 units of prayer, we don't get all the way through. But this is a way for the community to really connect with the scripture and hear the whole thing. So 20 rakas of prayer, it takes like an hour and a half, maybe. And so then having a snack, either after drinking tea or having some kind of nice, refreshing thing, sounds really wonderful. And then, as she said, we get up. My husband and I get up around 5 in the morning for the sahri, or we call it suhoor, for that early morning meal. And then we start fasting around, right now it's around 6 a.m. Is when the dawn prayer comes in. Before I became Muslim, I thought, no, I mean, I was married to my Muslim husband for a number of years before I became Muslim. And I thought, I couldn't ever do that. And then I became Muslim, and it's the favorite month of the year. Like, it's so special, and it's about so much more than just being hungry and thirsty. It's really, that happens too. And some days of fasting are harder than others. But, as Salma said, when, you know, there are times where people don't fast, right? And the month is really, really it's about the Quran, it's about community, it's about kindness, so much more than that physical fasting. And that physical fasting helps us appreciate, you know, what we have, and want to help and pray for and be kind to others, and just aware of, you know, what's happening in the world. So thank you so much for sharing that. Going back to the soup real quick, if all of your aromatics have kind of cooked down, what I do is I put all my spices kind of in the bottom of my pot and let them kind of cook a little bit in the oil, and then mix them in really well with the celery and the onions and the carrots. And I did double check the recipe a couple of times in a couple of different versions. This teaspoon of cinnamon, the teaspoon of turmeric, and the 2 teaspoons of cumin, that is double of the original recipe. And I'm not going to taste mine right now, although we can taste our food while we're cooking for our family in Ramadan, even when we're fasting. But you might well want to add, once your soup is done, you might want to add more of the spice, right? 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons might not be enough. Marge, did you cook this soup ahead of time already?
I did not. I'm way behind actually today. Usually I'm ahead of myself, but I'm not today because we were busy doing Purim activities because there's yet a different Jewish holiday going on today. Well, it's actually next week, but we have to prep stuff for next week. But my question was, I didn't see the cinnamon. Did I miss the cinnamon? Where is that cinnamon?
So the cinnamon is on the recipe on KindWorks, because I adapted the Joan Nathan one. So she doesn't.
It doesn't tell you when to add it. That's what I'm missing.
No. It should be in the ingredient list.
Yeah.
And but the cinnamon, I think it's on there. I printed out.
Did you add it with the turmeric and cumin and harissa?
That's what I did.
That's what I did too. I don't see.
Yeah, it's not what she's saying, Alexa. It's not in the directions, but I just did it with all the other seasonings.
Yes,
that's what I did.
Okay.
Yes. So good. Another edit to make. So yeah, it goes in all at the same time. But again, as your soup kind of comes together, if you find that it's just a little bit light on flavor, you know, it should be, you know, you can just add, but again, sort of half the amount of turmeric and cinnamon to the amount of cumin. And then also, I said to my husband, I need you to go to the store. I need some coriander. I need some parsley. And can you please get harissa? And he didn't find it. And so he has hot sauce. I'm not going to show you that. But harissa is this good, you know, hot pepper paste that adds sort of what we would call, I don't know, umami and depth to it. And I'm going to use, I have Aleppo pepper and I'm going to put in a little bit of paprika, smoked paprika for a little bit of heat. So it's not supposed to be super, super, super spicy by any stretch of the imagination, but you do want to have a little bit of spice to it, and definitely put in black pepper.
Okay, here's another question. Do I have to rinse my chickpeas if I'm using canned? Because I'm not as fancy as all these people who are using dried beans. I'm very impressed, but I'm using cans. Should I rinse them?
No. And in fact, I'm going to end up adding more salt because I don't cook my chickpeas. You know, when you cook them at home, you don't use salt typically. So no, it's totally fine. It's not going to make it super salty. And when I had 4 small babies at home, and then when I had 4 kids, you know, some of whom were fasting, I would sometimes even just dump the water in there too, just for extra liquid and flavor and, you know, all of that. So once you,
that's what I want.
so you're going to add that, and then you're just going to add in the tomatoes, and the chicken, you know, the tomatoes and the chickpeas. So you can add in your tomatoes, and then you'll add your chickpeas and uncooked lentils and the stock, and then you're just going to let it all cook until your lentils are done. So, Assalamu alaikum, Fazia.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm glad I could join.
Yeah. Do you have a Ramadan tradition, particularly culinary, but something that you really associate with the month?
That's really difficult because I live in a condo building. It's difficult to answer just because I love food, and I have a Turkish neighbor, Egyptian neighbor. So if I tell you what I love all of it. I love so much. And then every night we have our iftars at the mosque, and it's a surprise. We have a Moroccan chef. So traditionally back home, which is like 100 years ago in Latin America, my mom would just prepare. She was a chef, so she prepared so many different things. It's hard for me to say I have a true favorite at this point in my life. I just love the 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 gatherings. I think that's what I'm in love with, and just meeting over the different kinds of food like couscous and the different meats that you can prepare couscous with. I've learned to love that because that'll be a surprise in my office at night at the mosque from my Moroccan friends. And then my Somali friends will bring in different desserts. And it's just so much. I love food. Thanks for asking, though. I couldn't really answer one particular. There's just so much going on for me right now. It's hard to answer that.
Well, but you answered it. I think it speaks to the cultural diversity and the culinary diversity of the Muslim world, and how we can enjoy different people's traditions.
Yes, yes,
and enjoy all the different flavors.
Yes.
So, Dominique, are you here? Are you celebrating St. Patrick's Day in style in Ireland?
No, I'm here. And unfortunately, I got home from work late and friends unexpectedly turned up out my door. So I'm a little late. So I'm going to cook later. But anyways, I figure there's some nice greens in this and we'll call it a day.
That sounds good. So I've gone ahead and added my stock, and my lentils and everything.
And Ramadan Mubarak to everybody celebrating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexa, when I was in Morocco as a non-Muslim for Ramadan, it was interesting to hear about various traditions there. They're very much, at least during the day, everyone explained to us that it was about having empathy with poor people, understanding what it feels like to be hungry, to be thirsty, to be, and one of the traditions that all of our driver and our tour guides did was they carried change and small bills with them. And anytime a person came up to them saying they needed money, they handed them money, or they would roll down the window and hand money out. And said it was very important to do that, especially during Ramadan. So
that's wonderful.
That
feeling of charity and giving and community. Right. Last Ramadan, I spent a few days in Istanbul, and I met up with an American friend of mine, and she took me to an absolutely fabulous falafel place. So we picked up falafel to go and meet some other Muslims at a tea house where the tea house would serve, the tea and the coffee, but everybody would just bring their own food. And we were meeting up with a couple of other women. And so we bought our falafel, and we got stuck in terrible traffic. So we could hear the adhan, the call to prayer, meaning that the sun has set and it's time to break our fast. And we were in the car. So our driver, reached down and he pulled out his bag of dates and he handed us back some dates. And then we, opened up our falafel container and shared falafel. And it was just this wonderful experience to break fast in a taxi, stuck in absolute bumper to bumper traffic. And then to go to this tea house and see, all these different, families and gathering and, having different foods. Terry, what you said too reminds me of the very festive aspect, right? I think there's a lot going on in the world at any time, any point in history, and everybody, finds moments of joy and celebration while also acknowledging the difficulty, that's happening in the world. But it's also, night times. I know in Egypt, like the culture is you go about your day, you do your work, you take care of your family, whatever. But nighttime is for enjoying and having a good meal and going to the mosque and then hanging out with family. And it's very, very late nights, And as the other sister mentioned, like there's a lot less sleep in this month if you have to get up and go to work, right? Because you're staying up with family, with community at the mosque or at home, reading Quran, and then just getting up really, really early to nourish yourself ahead of the fast. So some cultures, they just kind of stay up all night long. In the last 2 years, I've been able to be in Istanbul for at least part of Ramadan. And we live in a very kind of quiet, not a lot of foreigners area. I love, with a time change, I would just stay up all night long until I would have my early morning meal and then go to sleep after Fajr prayer. And so about an hour before, hour and a half even, I would start to hear the drummer. And so different neighborhoods have people who walk through the streets playing the drum, sometimes singing, sometimes calling out to wake everybody up for that early morning meal. And it's one of my favorite sounds in Istanbul because it's just so cool. And we just so totally don't have that here. But that's a sound, for many, many Muslim cultures that somebody goes through the neighborhood. That's their job, is to wake everybody up for suhoor.
Yeah, I just want to also emphasize this spirit of Ramadan in Muslim countries. It's if any of you find yourselves traveling and are able to travel to a Muslim country during this month, it really will just add to your travel experience because it's such a unique experience to break fast. In the streets, it's just such a celebration. As serious as the month is, in recognizing the poverty, what people go through, and being conscious of that, reading the Quran, all of those very heavy and serious things. It's also about joy and celebration and appreciating all that we have. And so the time when the fast is broken, and for those hours afterwards, the streets of Cairo or Istanbul or in Dubai or in Pakistan, any of the cities there, it just becomes full of families and food and a real community spirit. And it's actually now not just in Muslim countries. So for example, if you're in London during this month, there is something called the Ramadan Tent Project, which started about 10 years ago. And it was the idea of a student at, I think at LSE, at the London School of Economics. He was missing his family and the sense of community during this month. And so he pitched a tent and got a few restaurants to donate food for iftar and for dinner, invited whoever was interested to break fast with him, whether you're fasting or not, whatever faith tradition or not you may be from. He just wanted to do it in community. And so 10 years later, it attracts hundreds of thousands of people. And it has spread from London to other cities in the UK and increasingly in various countries around the world. And it takes place, for example, in some of the most iconic places in London, in the V&A Museum or in Trafalgar Square. They just have long tables. It's free. It's sponsored by various people, and thousands of people come out every single night. It's in a different venue and break fast together, and learn about the culture and the traditions, and just get to know each other. So it's a beautiful spirit that is spreading in various other places, and you don't have to travel far. In Queens, New York, the spirit is very much alive as well. And what I've heard, I haven't experienced it, but I may this year, the night before Eid. Eid is the special celebration that marks the end of the month of fasting. And the night before is called Chand Raat. Raat means night, and Chand is the moon. So it's when you see the sight the moon, and it marks the end of that month. And so you've opened your last of your 30 fasts. And my niece, who is from India and is living in New York now, she said it is the celebration in Queens, where there is a large Muslim population, is even more than what she's experienced in cities in India, which is the second largest Muslim population in the world. So this year, actually, my treatment starts on that day. So I happen to be with my family. I'll be in New York, and perhaps venture to Queens and take part in this celebration. So I'll let you know. But it's the streets, the sidewalks. There are henna. Henna is the red dye that you paint your hands with. And there are bangle churis, we call them churis. They're made out of glass. They're all different colored bangles. Those vendors are out, and the henna artists are out, and tons of food and traditional desserts being made, on site in food carts and different restaurants, and traditional clothes being sold, and just music and color and vibrancy, and amazing. So that's going to be April 9th. If anyone wants to come to New York and head to Queens, it'll be a party.
And I think actually this year in Times Square, I assume that there's an iftar ahead of time, because I know there's actually Taraweeh prayers happening in Times Square. But then also Fazia is the outreach director at Dar al-Hijra, which is a mosque in Falls Church, which is where I took my testimony of faith and became Muslim almost 24 years ago. And on Wednesday, there is an interfaith iftar that will be taking place. Fazia, what's a good time to get there? 6:45, 7?
I would say 6:30, just for parking. So if you'd like to experience, thank you, Alexa, for inviting your friends. It's an experience if you haven't done it or you miss it. For those of you that are well traveled, we at Dar al-Hijra, it's an immigrant community, so we speak about 40 languages there and come from 100 different countries. And so it's a nice experience if you haven't done it or if you miss it. And you're all welcome to join me. I just need a number from Alexa so I can reserve those seatings.
So you're welcome to let me know, or Deb know, and Deb
let
me. If you want to attend.
And for festivities, also, well, I'll talk to you about it, Alexa. Our Taste of Islam, which is in the fall. So I'll send that to you as well.
Okay. Excellent.
All right.
Our family was lucky enough to be in Turkey, and the first day of Ramadan was our last night there. So we were back in Istanbul, and they have amazing signs hung, between the mosque towers saying, it's Ramazan, and I can't remember how they say it.
They say it differently in Turkish. But Ramazan, yes, I can't remember, but they hang it in lights between the minarets.
In lights,
yes,
and they have these huge downtown between the Hagia Sophia and the big mosque. They have these huge tents full of crafts, and they're giving boxes of food away, like tens of thousands, and families are out in all the parks, because this was July, so it was light, really late. So the breaking of the fast was really late, and it was just beautiful and joyous. It was we hadn't planned it, but we were so glad that we were there.
It is it is wonderful. And it's wonderful too that like there are places here in this country, you know, Muslim communities are gathering together in different forms and sizes to celebrate. I took my very reluctant daughter 2 years ago, who was a senior in high school, and I took her to Istanbul for Ramadan, and she wanted to be on a beach in Mexico, and we said, no, it's Ramadan, you have to come with us. But we went down to the Hagia Sophia one night, and what we weren't expecting, we got there before sunset, and then they set off a cannon fire, like a cannon, you know, to mark that the sun had set, and we were not expecting that. So I remember, Dominique, when you were talking about that, but everybody just has a picnic and has food, and the restaurants are open, and so it is really wonderful. So hopefully everybody's soup is simmering along, and the lentils will take however long they take. And then just kind of at the end, in the last few minutes, you can add your pasta if that's what you're going to do. Often it's pasta that looks like this. It's the really, really kind of broken up tiny pieces of vermicelli. But also the recipe says you can use even angel hair pasta. I've seen it, you know, other small things. Before my husband bought the vermicelli today, I was going to put in some orzo, which is called bird tongue in Egyptian. So it will thicken up. But even if you don't put pasta in, the soup is going to tend to thicken up. It'll thicken up more if you put pasta in. That vermicelli only needs a few minutes. But you might notice that it's quite a bit thicker as it cools down, and as you prepare it to give it away once your soup is all done. So just know that, and you can even, you know, say add a little water to get it to a good consistency when they are reheating it. Deb, can you talk about you know, can you do a little bit about the packaging and where to take it and all of that?
Yeah, thank you so much. For people who are new to Kind Soups, we ask that you put a label on your soup that says Kind Soup and Moroccan Harira, and it'll say vegan, because everything, we like to point out what kind of food restrictions or allergies might be present in this food. And I think this one has none. So we'll just put vegan underneath the name of the soup. Then put your first name and last initial and today's date. And importantly, freeze the soup before you share it. And that way, if you know, you don't run into any trouble with anything, bacteria becoming attracted to your soup, it just keeps it safe. So if you travel with frozen soup, that would be great. And we ask that you share your extras. Enjoy your dinner tonight, and then share your extras. I'm going to give some to my niece who had a baby, and I'm going to bring some to some of the 3 outdoor refrigerators in New York City. But if you're in the DC area, we have right on our website about 6 or 8 different places throughout Montgomery County and the area where you can drop off soups, food assistance providers, because unfortunately there are a lot of people who are hungry in our area. So you can check the website and see where the drop-off spots are and what days and times they accept their soups. But please deliver them frozen. And then lastly, if you could just report using a link that's right on the soup page that says where you shared your soup. We'd love to hear any stories that you want to share about who you shared your soup with and how it was received, or where you dropped your soup with a food assistance provider. And it can be both. So
I have to say I had the great fun once of being in New York with Deb. She made soup, and then I went with her when she delivered it, and the warmth and gratitude of the place where she brought it was really something.
It's fun.
It was really neat.
Yeah, it's different. These outdoor refrigerators are kind of immediate. Where Dominique and I went was in Chinatown. And so their refrigerator wasn't working. And I think he put it on a table and people came in and were like looking, right? I think. But some of them just have free outdoor refrigerators. And sometimes as you're putting your soups in, you'll see someone kind of looking curiously at what you're putting in. And as you walk away, they walk over and open it. And it makes you feel good, you know? People are immediately benefiting from something that you had the generosity to share. It's nice.
I just wanted to mention a couple of links in our chat. The one that I just shared is a short, like a 10-minute film that is now being on PBS on their YouTube channel. It's called Third Base to Faith. And it is about a young boy, 13, who's a baseball player, and he's leading his team to the championship baseball match. At the same time, he is memorizing the Quran. It's a 504-page book in Arabic. And oops, excuse Gatsby. And so it's considered a very amazing thing to be able to memorize. Imagine memorizing in Arabic over 500 pages. So this is a film about those two experiences of an American Muslim. And the young boy featured in that film happens to be my nephew, my brother's son. And so you'll see my brother's family there. I think I and my family might also be in the background somewhere, but the film is made by one of our KindSoup participants. Her name is Amna Chaudhry. She's a filmmaker, and she made this film several years ago, and it's been going on the film circuit, and this year was accepted by PBS, so that's very exciting. And the other link, the one that Deb included, that's actually I was mentioning my 30 days traditions. They're captured in a book that I produced 2 years ago. And so if anyone's curious about that, that's available through my website. And the art in particular is just beautiful. It's done by an Afghan artist. She does miniatures and calligraphy and illuminations. And so, yeah, there's some beautiful art.
And also, Sama, thank you so much for sharing that Third Base to Faith. And Amina is actually a really incredible filmmaker, and she has other films and is just a wonderful person. So thank you so much for sharing that. And also, Sama, you had, so the art is from an Afghan artist, but then you had it hand bound in Bangladesh. Is that right? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Sama, you're muted.
The book is a collection of these, various personal stories. And the art, yes, is this gorgeous art by Sokra Hosseini. And the book, each one has been hand-bound, because for me, as a storyteller, as a story seeker, I think our stories are the most precious things we have. And so what contains our stories, I think, should feel like a treasure. So each of my books, I've done 3 so far. Each one is hand-bound, and it's hand-bound by artisans in Dhaka in Bangladesh. So they're, it's an old tradition of actually hand binding books, of making books by hand. So the paper and the some of my books have handmade paper. Just there are different design elements. There are postcards that are tucked, for example, in the back of this book. There are postcards of the art. So there are all sorts of unique features that make the actual book itself feel special as well.
They're really heirloom books. They're amazing. I have all of them.
Yes, it is very, very special. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also I wanted to tag on with what Deb said for Shogafa and Jamila too. We can this recipe, if you cooked it makes a lot of soup, right? So you can share with people even in your own apartment buildings or your own neighbors. I have an Indian neighbor across the street, and she and I are having this little lovely like dance. She brought us this fresh appetizer last night. And I took her some of the cauliflower lentil soup that we cooked last week. So if you have neighbors, if you have friends who would enjoy, feel free to share that way as well.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. I want to cook the Moroccan soup. I like it, but you say the recipe. I very like that, and also I want to test. I'm very amazing for the test the soup, and also every Ramadan day, and also the other days I cook some foods like kabli palau, bolani, and also sambosa and other type of food I share with my neighbors and my friends. But they like my cooking. I don't know. I think Miss Tiba, she's also know. I cook some cookies, cake, and also the sweet things. Yeah.
Yes, the sweet things are a delicious, delicious part of Ramadan, mashallah.
Yeah, yeah.
That is so nice. And so do you have, is there, you said like the sambosas, is there something that is traditionally made in Afghanistan that is like just for Ramadan?
Yeah. Bolani and sambosas just for Ramadan, and also jalebi. Jalebi. I don't know.
No, the bolani that's the bread with like potatoes or pumpkin or something inside, right?
Yes, leeks, pumpkin, potato, and also the carrot, and also the spinach. It's very, very delicious bolani. Yeah.
It sounds delicious. For all of us who are fasting, we have about an hour and 20 minutes left. So all of this food is smelling more and more delicious.
Yeah.
As the day goes on. So to Shogofa and Jamila and Fazia and to all of you, thank you so much for joining.
You're most welcome. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for you make us the soup, and also you share with us the recipe. I'm appreciate for your sharing. Yeah, thank you so much.
And one day we would love for you, if you have a soup that you would love to cook, you can come and teach us how to make the soup, inshallah. We would love that.
Inshallah, I cook the Moroccan soup, and also I want to share with you the soup. If I cannot share the soup, I share the soup picture with yours.
Good.
You can get American recipes every Monday with us, Shogo Father, on the website. And we would love you to join us anytime you feel like it. We cook all soups from all around the world. But, Shogo Father, your English today was very, very good. You're getting bumped up to the advanced class.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alexa and Salma. Thank you for sparking this terrific discussion and this delicious soup. Mine's almost done. How's everybody doing? Everybody's good?
I was going to use orzo, I think, just because it's easier and I have an open bag of orzo. But I was wondering, we run into this all the time. Those pastas soak up all that moisture. So I'm wondering if I'm going to have to add more liquid after.
You could add more liquid, and also you don't have to add very much, particularly orzo. That it really soaks up, a lot. So you can just put a little bit in. It's just a little bit for a little extra carb in the soup. So you don't have to add very much, because orzo in particular, I feel like really absorbs a lot of the liquid.
Okay. Good advice. I will.
Carrie and Lisa and Dominique, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Dominique, do you have a question or? No? Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you. It smells so good. It
smells
so
good. Enjoy the Ramadan. I only make this soup in Ramadan, so I'm excited to have it for my iftar too.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.